Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. My name is Jeanne Gallagher, and I am here with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hello.
Hello, and Denise is our longevity concierge and healthy living with Denise. So we're talking about the holidays, and where are we headed this time?
Let's talk a little bit about, we could talk about gratitude. No, let's talk about food FOMO. I love talking about food FOMO, navigating food FOMO, right?
Whoever thought that was a thing?
It's really a thing. Of my friend Lauren, she and I did an interview a couple of years, more than a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago, where she was talking about food FOMO. And we just had such a great conversation that it's something that I adopted because I know we all have this. Well, may not everyone. Really, when we go to a holiday party, when we go out to dinner, our eyes are bigger than our tummies most of the time. And, when it comes to FOMO, fear of missing out, when it comes to food, especially around the holidays where there's so much of it,
Mhm.
um, we kind of go, ooh, our eyes bug out like, ooh, look at all the pretty cookies and all the candies and all the things that we can eat. And we want to try all of it. We don't really need to try all of it. But people really do have like this anxiety of missing out on like their favorite dish or dishes. And
Mhm.
what ends up happening is they overindulge because of tradition, um, fear, the FOMO, or scarcity. Sometimes people have that scarcity mindset. And I mean, I think about this like Christmas cookies. We can make cookies all year round, but for whatever reason, everybody goes bonkers at Christmas when it comes to cookies,
Mhm.
right? So we go to work, or I was at the dentist office the other day. I love this one. I was at the dentist office and they had cupcakes. I mean, it was Halloween.
But
So, I
still.
mean, but still, like an apple. But again, even at the dentist office, there was a bit of FOMO there. Whether it was somebody in the office going, oh, well, we have to have goodies for people that are coming in after they have their teeth cleaned, they're going to give them a cupcake. Okay, whatever. But again, this is where this overindulgence comes in. Like we're so afraid of missing out
Mhm.
that we take a bite of everything and then we go back for more. We eat too fast. Um, and then what happens afterwards? We feel full and bloated, maybe a little nauseated, and now we feel guilty and we are angry with ourselves and end up going down this negative spiral, right?
I have
Not
those
really.
feelings about not just the holidays, though. If you go to a buffet, it's a similar feeling of, oh, there's all these wonderful things, and all of a sudden your plate is
Mhm.
overfilling and falling off the edges. And then you sit down and being the president of the Clean Plate Club, because that's how I was brought up, right?
Yep. Mhm. I
It's a
remember that.
requirement.
Yeah. And what happens with that plate? Everything starts to blend together, right? So you started off, you had a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then everything just kind of like gets squished in the middle, and the mashed potatoes start to taste like the sweet potatoes and whatever. But I agree. There is a trick that I've taught for years, years and years and years around a buffet.
Mm,
Walk around the buffet first without a plate.
mm,
Just take a look to see what there is. If there's meatloaf on the buffet, you make meatloaf any day of the week, right? Don't eat the meatloaf. But if there's something there, there's crab legs. You don't eat crab legs very often. I'm not too sure about crab legs at a buffet, but that just came to my mind. Eat the crab legs, like them on the plate, right? We end up going, oh, I like this, and oh, then I like this. And like you
mhm,
said, before you know it, like they've got so much on your plate that after a few bites, you're not tasting anything. It all starts to taste the same.
mhm.
So, one, walk around the buffet without your plate to see what there is, and then choose the items that really stick out. These are the things that I don't eat on a regular basis. And then grab a plate and grab some of those.
That's a great idea. And you can apply that to your Thanksgiving table that's not set up like a buffet. If it's,
Absolutely.
obviously it's a family style meal, you
Mhm,
can look first
mhm.
before you actually are making those choices. Take a look, take a break, take a breath.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's always funny. One of the things I just don't understand this bit of the traditional Thanksgiving meal is the green bean casserole in that murky, creamy
Cream
stuff.
of
I don't
mushroom
even know
soup
what it is. Okay,
with the
so
fried onions on the top.
yeah, we did not have that growing up. My parents are from England, from London. So Thanksgiving was a little different. We didn't have some of those things. Um, but what I find happens is at the end of the meal, when people have gone crazy and have eaten everything off their plate, the one thing that seems to still be there
My plate
is
is the green bean
the green
casserole.
bean casserole. Like everything is gone off the plate except for the green bean casserole. So my question is one, why are we making it? Why then are you putting it on your plate if you know you're not going to eat it? And maybe that's something we rethink. How about nice, fresh, crisp green beans?
Mhm,
A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of pepper. How beautifully would that go with a Thanksgiving turkey or
mhm.
whatever you have at, your holiday meal, right? Actually, that's making me hungry. I'm like, ooh, that sounds really good. So you made a good point a minute ago, Jeanne, to stop and breathe. When you're sitting at your table and you're having your meal, two things, I guess. Put your fork down between bites. So this one allows you to breathe. It gives you a minute to actually taste the food that you have in your mouth.
Mhm.
It gives your brain a minute to understand what you've got. Takes a little bit of time for digestion, but your brain is now going, "Oh, that tasted really good." Rather than when people and my husband is really bad at this. Like he'll take a bite and before he's even finished chewing and swallowing, he's like taking the next, spoonful or scoopful, forkful. And then he'll say, "Oh, I ate too much." Well, yeah, because you didn't think about it while you were eating. But it's about taking the time to notice, are you still hungry? Am I full? How do I feel? If I'm still hungry, what is it that my body really needs? Do you need more of the mashed potatoes with the gravy? Or do you need to focus on the protein? I mean, most of
Mhm,
us nowadays at this stage in life, we really do need to start and focus on our protein.
mhm.
Everything else is kind of like, they call them side dishes for a reason, right?
Right.
Right? It's not supposed to be a bunch of mashed potatoes and gravy and a little piece of turkey. If you're vegetarian, there's an absolutely different way that you're doing holidays, and I understand that and I appreciate that. That's a whole different conversation, right?
That is a whole different conversation.
Yes. Um, but also what I think is important when we're breathing and paying attention to what we're eating is you actually are focusing more on quality than quantity.
And you also have an opportunity to focus on the people around you at the table. Because what one frustrating thing about Thanksgiving, it takes hours to prepare and it's done in 10 minutes, right? So, however, so if there's some intention and thought process between bites and conversation, that helps the
Mhm.
digestion and it helps the enjoyment of the reason that we're all together.
Right, exactly. That the food part is part of the holiday. It's not the whole holiday. It's not just about like, let's eat all this. When you're talking to people and you're bringing up stories and you're laughing and you're making memories, that's really what these holidays are about. Being grateful and being thankful for what we have, but also about making memories that we can talk about in years to come. So it's more about the memories and the people than it really is about the food. And we've made it so much about the food. right?
Exactly.
I would just say the last thing that I want to mention on this topic of food FOMO is know yourself when you go into dinner. You know, if you are somebody who really likes to have a, you know, at the holiday, have a piece of pie at the end of your meal, pay attention and plan for that. So when you're putting food on your plate, add in the extra calories or whatever it may be um, for that piece of dessert. Because I always say, you know, eat real food, make decisions, be accountable, right? And find that healthy lifestyle that works for you and still enjoy dessert.
Or you dessert
So,
first.
or you, for the holiday, what the heck, eat dessert first. But keep in mind, dessert really is, you know, it's a portion size, you know, a piece
Right.
of pie as opposed to the whole pie, right? So that's my spiel on food FOMO. Do not worry about missing out on food. We are not starving in this country for the most part, and enjoy the foods that you love, and don't bother with the ones that you don't. Just because it's on the table doesn't mean you have to eat it.
Wonderful. Great advice, Denise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeanne Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, and I want to just take a moment to talk about my friend, Denise Stegall. I am honored to call her as a friend, and I'm so grateful that she gives us her insight during our shows each show and talks about healthy living, eating real food. You hear Denise say, eat real food a lot. Well, she means it, and she knows what she's talking about. She is an amazing healthy living coach, curator at Living Healthy List. And if you ever have any questions about what is real food, why does it matter, how does that apply to me, how do I change, what do I need to do, how do I even create a healthy living shopping list, make sure that you call her. She is your healthy living coach, and you can find her at healthylivinglist.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. My name is Jeanne Gallagher, and I'm excited to introduce Meghan. We do have the same last name for a reason. Hey, Meghan.
Hi.
So Meghan is here. This is part 2 of 3. And so if you didn't catch the first one, we talked about nutrition coaching and the importance of that. And it was really a high level thing. And down the road, we're going to take deeper dives into the subject, but some good information. And today we're talking about pregnancy and exercise and nutrition. And so Meghan, before we start, just give a quick little background about you and what you do, and then we'll see where we take this.
I'm a nutrition coach. I am working with a nutrition company called The Macro Way. I also manage a CrossFit gym, and the owner of the CrossFit gym, her and I do nutrition together. I've been a nutrition coach for about 4 years, but I've been within the fitness industry for probably close to 15 years.
Very cool. And so we're talking about pregnancy and nutrition and exercise. And why do you qualify for this?
I am currently 27 weeks pregnant, so I'm about 6 months pregnant. And this is my second pregnancy. This pregnancy, I have a 10-year difference between my first pregnancy and this pregnancy. And when I had first gotten pregnant, I was very new to nutrition. I had already been working within fitness, but I was newer to nutrition. And so coming at it this time around, I have a lot more knowledge that I'm able to put towards my pregnancy when it comes to my nutrition as well as my fitness. So
Made a difference, huh?
a little bit.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So not only for you and your pregnancy, if people are watching on this, it's kind of weird talking to Meghan on screen because we kind of act alike, so it's a little freaky.
Yeah.
So anyways, so get that out of the way. So not just your pregnancy, but you've also had other people in the gym that have exercised throughout their pregnancy. And before we start, I want to just do a little bit of a disclosure.
Yeah.
So this is not medical advice, and we're not suggesting that you just you just jump, whether you're pregnant or not, you just don't jump into going to the gym. I want you, especially if you're pregnant, to talk to your doctor, your naturopath, your fundamental doctor, whatever medical person you have that you're in touch with. Please do your research before you jump in. So I get that out of the way.
When I was pregnant with my son 10 years ago, I had just gotten into CrossFit and I was doing a lot of personal training. I had just gotten into CrossFit like maybe 2 months in, and I was doing bar method classes because I was also working at the bar method. And I found out I was pregnant and I automatically backed out of doing CrossFit because I was so new. It wasn't smart for me to start something so different from what my body was used to while also going into being pregnant. So once I found out I was pregnant, I dialed it back down. This time around is different because I've been doing CrossFit for close to 10 years now. So now going into this pregnancy, I stuck with CrossFit because that's what my body is used to at this point, and I'm comfortable in knowing what I need to do properly for modifications.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're not necessarily saying that CrossFit is a place to be. What we
No.
want to really talk about, we're going to talk a lot about CrossFit because it comes into play, but from a consistency standpoint, as well as the environment that you're in. But whatever exercise routine that it's in isn't extremely important.
Yes.
And so for you at the gym, you are not the first pregnant person that's been there.
No, I am not. I am not the first pregnant person. We have a couple coaches that have done CrossFit all the way through their pregnancies. And even my last gym back in California, one of my coaches, she did CrossFit throughout her whole pregnancy. Literally, she was doing overhead squats the day that she gave birth. And so,
Not at the same time.
no, thank goodness. But yeah, it's really cool to see that, if your body is used to the routine that you're doing and you're okayed by your doctor, you can continually work out as long as, you listen to your doctor's advice and you listen to your body as well. I have some days where I can push harder in the gym, and then I have other days where I'm just there to move, and it's okay. I'm not trying to, push records or anything like that. I'm just trying to move daily so that I feel less crappy.
Because that does happen. For anybody,
Yes.
every day's a new day, and there's some days you're just not feeling it. But when you've got some other things going on and you're growing a human, that's going to happen a little bit more than normal.
Yes, definitely.
So how does nutrition play? Let's talk about nutrition, and then we'll talk about exercise as well. How does nutrition play a part in your progression through your pregnancy, or why is it important, and how can people, because if you're not paying attention, if you're newly pregnant and you're not paying attention to your diet, you can jump into this part at any point in time. And it's, why is that important? And let's talk about that.
Nutrition and pregnancy is super important, especially when you get past that first trimester. In that first trimester, I mean, if you can just get food in your first trimester, that's really all that matters. And you feel sick half the time, you're tired. So just making sure that you're fueling your body the best you can is all you can do. But then once you get into that second and third trimester, where you do start to feel a lot better, nutrition is super important. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals that we get from a whole foods diet. that helps with the production of building the baby. Before I got pregnant, I actually read a book called Real Food for Pregnancy by Dr. Lily Nichols. And it was such an amazing book. It blew my mind. If you're trying to get pregnant and having a hard time getting pregnant, she has real food for fertility, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm currently in the middle of reading that book because I have a couple clients who are going to try in the future to get pregnant. And I want to make sure that I have the building blocks to kind of help them be able to be successful in that. But whole foods is super important when you're pregnant, and getting, your protein in, and making sure that you're getting your fruits and your vegetables. Eggs are super important. Even nuts and legumes. All of this stuff is very important when it comes to fueling your body properly, but also aiding in growing a baby.
Hmm. Where would somebody start? What are good steps for nutrition and pregnancy, and how does it differ from not being pregnant?
Yeah. It's pretty much, I mean, it's kind of the same guidelines in a way. One thing that I really focus on, is making sure that I get protein in, especially with being as active as I am, making sure that I have protein in with my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and even with my snacks as well, helps me hit the protein goals that I need to hit. Especially for women, protein is really hard. You want your daily protein intake to be anywhere from, you know, 70 to the 70 plus grams of protein a day. And it's super important to be able to keep your muscle and to keep the health of your baby as well. Another thing that I really focus on is eggs, and like the whole egg, not just the egg white, because the egg yolk is super important when it comes to the development of your baby's brain and building that force. And then building my plate from there, I start with protein, and then I go to a non-starchy carbohydrate. So like a vegetable, or or like berries or something like that. And then I make sure that I have fats within that as well. Healthy fats are super important for your baby's growth. So making sure that I have avocado. I eat a lot of mayo, um, coconut oil, any type of healthy cooking oils. I usually use tallow or ghee or butter when it comes to cooking. And then just building my plate from there.
That is our friend.
That is our friend.
That's
It's not
amazing.
what it used to be.
Yeah, thank goodness.
That is
That's
okay.
amazing. And one thing that you said, so you were talking about non-starchy carbs,
Mhm.
and you mentioned berries, and I don't know that people really think that fruit is carb laden, but it is because of the sugar, the natural sugars in the fruit.
Yes. Yeah. So with fruits and vegetables, when you have carbohydrates, there is you can kind of break them down to starchy carbs and non-starchy carbs. Um, and you can do that by going by the glycemic index.
Mm,
The glycemic index is how much that food raises your blood sugar. So it's better to stay closer to foods that are lower on the glycemic index, because you don't have that crazy shoot up and down of blood sugar after you eat. So stuff like, for vegetables like squash, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, you can pair your carbs with fiber, and that will also slow that blood sugar spike as well. When it comes to fruits, a lot of our fruits are very sweet. So sticking to berries and berries, cherries, something that it has a little bit of a tart to it. If you're eating like bananas, apples, oranges, stuff like that, you'll notice a spike within your blood sugar. So I always try and stick to the lower glycemic index when it comes to my fruits and vegetables, just because for me personally, my body does better on that.
Mhm. And understanding how your body operates on whatever kind of food it is really it takes work.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's a lot. Nutrition is a lot of trial and error. That's why for some people it's important to work with a nutrition coach, because one, we have a lot of knowledge behind what we're doing, but also we understand that everybody's different, and we understand that trial and error. So like if you notice that you eat for breakfast, let's say you eat oatmeal and with fruit, and you notice that, your blood sugar spikes and you all of a sudden a couple hours later you get shaky, that tells us that maybe there's too much carbohydrates in that meal, and maybe you need to equal it out with some protein or something like that to kind of help stabilize that blood sugar a little bit. So having that nutrition coach kind of helps guide you through that trial and error phase, and we try and direct you in the right way from there.
Mm. Because it can be overwhelming, or that whole process can just be too difficult to start. So I can't even think
yeah.
about it. I got too many other things going on. I'll just do whatever.
Yeah.
Which is normal, a
Mhm.
normal thought process. So let's break it down a little bit and give some specifics. So tell everybody what your typical week of exercise looks like, and then a typical meal day for you.
So typical exercise week, I usually do some sort of CrossFit or bodybuilding 4 days a week.
Mhm.
I try and take a day off somewhere during the week, whether it's Monday or sometimes I'll do like Wednesday or Thursday. But I try and stick to CrossFit or some sort of bodybuilding. Right now, I do CrossFit, and then I have like a kettlebell program that I've been doing. With pregnancy, it's super important to stick to strength training. Um, after you have your baby, it's like you've never worked out a day in your life. It's crazy how quickly you can lose that strength and that endurance and everything like that. But going through pregnancy, sticking to a strength program workout is super important. You earn mobility through strength as well as stretching. And it's very important for your hips and your pelvic area when you do give birth, to be able to have that strength and that mobility. So usually I do CrossFit and like a kettlebell workout
Mhm.
about 4 days a week. And then on Saturdays, we have a Spartan class that I like to do. And Spartan is a lot like CrossFit. It's a little bit heavier on cardio, and we don't use a barbell. So we'll do kettlebell or dumbbell, sandbags, stuff like that. But the Spartan workouts tend to be more of like a 30 to 40-minute workout. And it's just a consistent moving for that 30 or 40 minutes, which is super important as well. So I try to break it up like that.
Okay. And so what's your diet look like? So we'll break it down into calories, but also into categories. Can we do that?
Yeah.
So what's your calorie intake, and then how does that break down into your macros?
So my calorie intake, when for me, I understand where my metabolic threshold is. So
Mhm.
I understand how many calories my body can take before I start gaining weight with the amount of energy that I exert on a daily basis. When you're pregnant, you want to make sure that you are at that threshold calorie wise, maybe even a little bit higher
Mhm.
because you are growing a person inside of you. So for me, my calories are at like 2,600. And it's a little bit lower than my actual like threshold, but I physically cannot eat more food. Like my stomach can't take anymore. So I'm at 2,600 calories.
A
For
problem I wish everybody wishes they have.
Yeah. For me personally, my body does better with a high fat diet and a low
Mhm.
carb diet. Just because I tend to be a little bit more sensitive when it comes to blood sugar and stuff like that. Um, so my protein is at 150 grams. My carbs are at 65 grams, and my fats are at, I think they're at like 160, something like that. Um, so for me personally, that works best for me. Um, because of the trial and error that I have gone through. And I know how I can work best with the macros that I have. And it's completely different for so many different people. And then when it comes to my food breakdown, I try and get as much protein in daily using whole foods.
Mhm.
And if I do have some protein left, then I will add a protein shake or a protein powder or something like that. But 90% of my protein intake is through whole foods.
Mm.
I do eat a meat-based diet. So I eat a lot of eggs, chicken, beef, ground beef. I try and stay a little bit on the higher fat side when it comes to my meat, because I do have a higher set fats for my body to hit.
So what does breakfast look like for you?
My breakfast, I love my breakfast. It's my favorite meal. So I have 3 whole eggs, I have 3 pieces of bacon, and then for my carbohydrate, my breakfast is I eat that directly after my workout. So I'll either have a tortilla with my eggs and bacon, or right now I've really been on a pancake kick. So I do about 3 little mini Kodiak cakes, which the Kodiak cakes are really great because they already have a good amount of protein in them as
Mhm.
well. So I'll have 3 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon. Oh, and then I have a piece of cheese in my eggs, and then 3 pancakes. And that's my breakfast.
And then there's snack and then there's lunch. Yes, yes.
Uh, no snack in between there, but then I have lunch, and my lunch varies. Right now, um, I really like ranch all of a sudden. So I've been doing, Costco sells these beef sirloin, I guess, like cut up chunks. So I've been eating that. So I eat about 3.5 ounces of the steak with lettuce, tomato, zucchini, um, and then usually feta cheese and some ranch. And then for my carbohydrate, I will have an apple with peanut butter. And that's my lunch. And then I do have a snack in between my lunch and my dinner. My snack is bone broth with butter and then an egg. So it's almost like egg drop soup,
Mhm.
but it's really, really good. And then my dinner varies. So my husband, if I was to feed him the same thing every day, he would shoot me. So our dinner has to have variety, whereas for me, I could just eat the same thing. It doesn't bother me. So our dinner changes. Usually, we'll either do burgers, or I've been doing carnitas a lot lately. But I'll pretty much just pick a protein and then decide what protein I'm going to have, and then I'll build the rest of my plate around there. But it's usually a protein with some vegetables and cheese.
And then is that it?
That's
26 calories is a lot.
It is a lot.
26 calories is a lot.
Sometimes that's it, or there are times where I'll have like a little bit left and I'll have like a little sweet treat or something like that. Sometimes I'll have macadamia nuts and like some chocolate chips or something like that. But yeah, that's usually it. Every once in a while, I kind of have stopped doing it because I feel like my body isn't liking it right now, but I was doing, for a while, I was doing the Elementi hot cocos with some coconut oil and some whipped cream on top, makes a little hot chocolate. But yeah, that's about it.
If you didn't have a regular exercise routine, your diet, your ability to consume 2600 calories would not look like this, correct?
It would look a little bit different. Another reason why I am able to eat so much food is because I've also trained my body to do that. Not only do I have the muscle and I am active, I've also put myself through a couple different reverse diets over the past couple years. So when Tirsa and I first started with the macro way, and we had learned about reverse dieting, before we really did anything with our clients, we each put ourselves through a reverse diet. And we had talked about this in the last podcast, but with the reverse diet, I am starting out at whatever calories I'm eating at. And then I'm slowly adding more food in each week as I consistently track my macros as well as my weight. And that slowly starts burning my metabolism, and it gets my metabolism working so I can eat more food. And I mean, we have clients that we put them through the reverse diet and they're not working out, and we can still get them to, 2000 to 2300 calories, and they're not even really working out. We just have their bodies working efficiently.
I think that that's fascinating because in our mindset, we're so run by what the scale says. So we talked about this before, but I think it's important, especially when you're going through pregnancy, because number one, your scale is going to increase, and that's it's supposed to, because now you're two people. And it's important that it does, but it's also important to understand what you're putting into your body to take care of yourself, but also, like you said, grow a baby that you're growing.
Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely going into this pregnancy more mindful of my nutrition and also of my weight gain. When I was pregnant with my son, my diet was completely different. I really was just kind of all over the place with my diet, but I was also more of a high carb, low fat. And I noticed that with my pregnancy with my son, I had a lot of meat aversions and I had a really hard time eating meat. And when I did eat meat, it was pepperoni pizza, or, it was a burrito. I also worked at Starbucks at the time, so I was eating a lot of egg sausage sandwiches. I was getting protein in, but my sources for getting my nutrients in, they weren't as higher quality. They were a little bit more processed than where I'm at now.
And it goes back to that eat whole foods piece.
Exactly.
And Denise talks about eating whole foods. That's her mantra. And it is the same. It's so important.
I've noticed a huge difference. I've looked at pictures being pregnant with my son around the same time as here. like the picture when we're sitting on the hill
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm about this pregnant.
Yeah, Laguna Seca.
I
That
have
was
like 3 chins. I'm not as puffy. I'm not as puffy as I was when I was pregnant with my son. I can be on my feet all day running around and my feet don't swell like they
Mm,
did with my son. So there's a lot less water retention there because I am sticking to more whole foods. And also because my carbohydrates are a lot lower.
mhm,
um, Carbs hydrate. They help hold in that water. So that's
mm,
where sometimes you are, if you're feeling bloated and stuff like that, if you ate higher carbs one day than you did the next, you can feel it and you can tell.
mm. Oh, interesting. And
Yep.
then as they convert to sugar, that also increases inflammation.
Yes. Yep.
Mm,
Yeah,
interesting.
so seeing both sides to, how I ate so differently before, halfway through my pregnancy with my son, I ended up becoming more vegetarian. And I ate more processed foods because I was still trying to get protein in. And there's nothing wrong with being vegetarian or vegan or anything like that. But it is harder to get the same amount of protein in as if you were a meat eater. So there was a lot more processed meatless items that I
Mhm.
was eating to hit my protein goals. Whereas now I'm more whole foods and able to hit my protein goals.
Yeah, and you have to be we were for a very long time
Mhm.
vegetarian for over 30 years,
Yeah.
and you really have to be more mindful on the quality of the protein intake, because especially now where
Yeah.
vegetarian and meatless things are such buzzwords,
Yeah.
the amount of processed food within that space is
Mhm.
far greater than it used to be.
Yes.
So
Totally.
it can all be done.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
just that you have to make sure that you are doing your research and
Mhm.
being good stewards of what you're intaking as well.
Yes. Yep. Definitely.
So we could talk about this for days and
Yeah.
days because there's so much to talk about. But so can you break it down to, if somebody was coming to you and um, going to be pregnant or newly pregnant, what are some of the pieces as far as nutrition and exercise? What pointers can you quickly think of
Mhm.
to that you would give to them?
I would talk with them about getting protein in with
Mhm.
all of their meals and snacks. I would talk about the importance of whole food proteins compared to more of the processed proteins like protein powders, protein bars, stuff like that. And I would talk about the importance of whole foods and maybe trying to see if they would be more open to having more of a higher fat intake with the whole foods as well. Um, the book that I'm reading, Pregnancy or Real Food for Fertility, there was this really interesting point that she talked about with tribes, long time ago, if within a tribe, if you have someone who wants to be fertile, but the tribe doesn't feel like it's the right time, they would have this person consume more carbohydrate grain type foods
Mm,
because that would make them a little bit more infertile. And then the moment that they're ready to add that child in, they would start feeding her more fats and more proteins because those foods help make you more fertile. And it's so interesting because we live in such a society right now where there's so many different food types and there's so much processed foods and a lot of different grains and everything like that. And so it's very interesting being able to hear all that. But I would talk about the importance with whole foods and sticking to more fruits and vegetables, some whole food proteins. And then when it comes to working out, you know, depending on what their workout schedule is, if their body's used to movement throughout the week, then pretty much just listen to your body and keep that movement going. As you do get more into pregnancy and your stomach gets bigger, movements become harder, and then you would just slowly adjust to what feels best. I listen to my body a lot when it comes to my workouts. And then the biggest thing also is drinking water. You want to make sure you're hydrating your body and getting in water. And then on top of that, electrolytes as well, to make sure that you are hydrating properly throughout your pregnancy.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to get back together again, and we're going to talk about nutrition and exercise and surgery, and what that recovery piece and how important that is to the recovery. So look for that one after as our episode number 3. And Meghan, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.